Welcome to Just Ranked, the show where four middle-aged men pretend to act like they're not four middle-aged men. Or should I just say music rating show where there's three hockey fans and Jimmy. No, really, it's a show where we rate our four favorite songs of that week's topic. This week's topic is Alice in Chains songs. My name is Joe. I'm joined by Jimmy and the El Presidente Chris and Dink. Dink, it's your show now, man. You go first this week.
I'm up first.
You're up
All
first.
right. Okay, so it's kind of fitting that I'm going first because I'm going to guess out of the four of us that I was the last to discover Alice in Chains, sadly. I don't know how I missed them in amongst all my music loves, but yeah, I'll just say that I've probably caught up with listening to them since then. I would argue that I could rival anyone that's other than maybe a super diehard, but I'm listening to them, like I think I said it last episode or a couple episodes ago, at least once a week here in this house. And if borderline killed them for myself, but still love them, so haven't killed them, just overplayed them.
So when did you start listening to them then? When did you start getting into them?
We'll get into that with my song. Okay. My songs will give it away, and I will get into a little more detail with that. So I'll start with my first song, which is number 4. And that is, I have little quotes to go like I did with Van Halen. So my first quote is, "They spit on me in my homeland." So my first song is Rooster, obviously.
Yeah. Nice.
And of course, everyone knows that is about Jerry's dad, who was in Vietnam. I love the song. I think that Layne's voice in every song, I'm probably going to repeat myself here, but I love Layne. Layne is probably top 5 favorite singers of all time for me. Yeah. I think that his vocals are just so powerful and rip through you. And I know it's really Jerry's song, but Layne owns it, right? Like he just dominates that song. I think it's so good. I don't know. That's Mike Starr still with the band too, right? Yeah. So I think his bass is not talked about enough when it comes to that song.
Yep.
But yeah, just an awesome song. And I have some memories again, like, cause I'm a memory kind of guy with music. So a very quick memory. It was 98. So well after the song was out, and a mutual buddy of Chris and I's, well, a couple of them actually, Todd and Dennis, we went away for a May 2-4. That's what we call it here in Canada, long weekend in May. Actually, in Manitoba, they call it May long. They call every long weekend long. May long, June long, July long, really original.
But compensating for something.
Right. In Ontario, they call it May 2-4, even though it doesn't really fall on the 24th always, and it's more probably about the beer. But anyway, we went away for May 2-4 to a small town in Ontario that's like a ski place, Collingwood it's called, and we rented a ski chalet, and there was about 16 of Todd's friends from the town he was living in. And again, like that story with our pal Ian, somebody brought a home stereo. So on the Saturday of the weekend, we all got their Friday night party. There was everybody getting to know everybody. And then on the Saturday, for some reason, again, like that other story with Ian and I on the plastic chairs, everybody left. They went to the ski hill, and it was in May, and they were tubing or karting or something down the hill, and a bunch of them went on a hike or whatever. And it's just Dennis and I in the house.
Why is everyone leaving you everywhere?
I don't know. It works out well. Like Dennis and I smoked a couple of doobs. We're drinking, day drinking, and we listened to Rooster 8 times in a row. Just like, put it on again. You want to listen to it again? Put it on again. And it was like we weren't even really talking near the end. We were probably yelling at each other, talking because we listened to it so much. But it was like meditation. We just kind of sat there and looked at each other and smiled. It's so good, so good. And then the rest of the group came back near the end of us listening to it. It's like, we can hear that all the way down the road. I'm like, how many times did you hear it? But anyway, that's my memory with that song. So I'll let you guys say your piece. I'm sure it's going to come up maybe again, like all these songs will. I think we're going to have some crossovers. So
yeah. No, I think you're right, though. You brought up Layne. He's one of my favorite vocals of all time, too. And this, I think, is his best vocal performance. I mean, like you said, Jerry wrote 99% of the songs, and this is obviously his song. It's about his dad, it's about his estranged father, and all this stuff, and he tested and all this stuff. But still, Layne, you can feel the agony and pain in a song that's he's not personally connected to that we're aware of, So, and his vocal performance so good. I mean, I don't think that song gets pulled off without his vocals.
Oh, just the way he says he ain't gonna die. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, no. Like, it's just so good.
Yeah.
So good.
I mean, that's one thing I'll say. It get brought up again that of all the 5 Seattle bands, the big 5 Seattle bands came out of Seattle, right? That I still think he had. I mean, okay, the best pure voice was obviously Soundgarden, but I think the most original voice by far and away is Layne's.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
but sometimes
I would say that too.
But sometimes it's actually hard to differentiate between their two voices because they split vocals, verse and chorus, verse. They take time, take turns on a lot of stuff. And I mean, there's some albums I'm sure that'll be talked about tonight where Jerry does the boatload of the singing. Yeah. So, I mean, their voices are so similar that they can float between each other so well.
It's so in sync. I know they harmonize really well together. Yeah. And when Layne's doing the main and he's doing the backups or vice versa, it's just a perfect flow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the reasons. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just saying that's one of the reasons that I had a hard time going past the Layne Staley, Alice in Chains albums because Duvall, he's got a great voice. He's amazing, a powerful singer, but they don't have that confluence and that I don't know. Yeah, it was hard for me to go past the Layne Staley years.
Yeah, I didn't even look at anything past that, honestly.
Yeah, no, I looked, but I knew what I liked of that.
Yeah.
Era or
they're not going to be in my top 4. They're not going to be in my top 5.
No, they didn't make mine either, and I was glad I let you go ahead there, Jimmy, because I was going to say the exact same thing. I was going to say something about it's not the same for me. Like, and I like your decision, and I like a bunch of the songs, but it's just like I have a list on my Spotify that's just Layne. I didn't even.
Well, I will say this.
Yeah.
You were saying, but we were both saying before that, both Jerry and Layne's voice are very complementary, but they're very different voices, right? Yeah, where I think Duvall's and Cantrell's voices are way too similar. I mean,
right.
Again, he's very, very good what he does. I'm not discounting, and there's some really good songs on those albums, but yeah, I think they're just too similar. And again, and that's not a knock on him. It's just Layne was very unique in how he sang.
Right.
And how he sang things.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, what's up next, brother?
Okay, so number 3 is, and I don't know if this one's going to crack your list, but because it is more of a mainstream, I would say popular, or people that don't really know the band like this song, but it's "I Stay Away."
Love that song.
Love that song, and this is the reason why I fell for this band. Somehow or still irks me. I don't know why. All these years later, but I miss Facelift. I don't know how I did. And then our buddy Ian that I've mentioned a couple of times now, he had Dirt, and I was with him all the time, and he would play it, and I knew Wood from singles, and I was like, yeah. And then when Jar of Flies came out, I heard "I Stay Away" at another friend's house, and I was like, what is that? And that was the song. That is the song that made me dive into Jar of Flies, and then go, holy shit, what have I not been listening to here? And then spent 94 and all of 95, daily, weekly, like getting caught up with everybody in time. Like,
so I'm guessing at that point you listened to Sap then either, right?
No.
Such a shame.
Sadly, right? And then of course. That came even later. I was like, oh shit, there's other stuff.
More, yeah.
Right. And as I'm just diving in constantly for a year and a half, the Unplugged comes out. Right? Like I'm like, oh. But anyway, it's that song for me is so it's very memorable just for that it was really which is sad, true introduction to the band. And of course, like I said, it's the mainstream one. It was up for a Grammy and lost to Black Hole Sun, which I didn't realize until I started looking deeper when, like we do for this show, like to make sure we don't kind of forget anything, right? But it lost to Black Hole Sun, and the funny part was that Pearl Jam's Go, Green Day's Longview, and Beastie Boys Sabotage were the other songs up for Hard Rock Performance. The Beastie Boys one, I was like, that's funny. But anyway.
Right. Well, I have a funny I Stay Away story. So, everyone was getting their home computers. I had one computer before that, but it hardly ever got used and it got out of date. So I went and I bought this awesome computer. And when I bought the computer, the guy goes, hey, I have this really cool screensaver floppy disk. It's $20. It's Alice in Chains, I Stay Away. You just pop it in and it'll load it in. So whenever you stop touching your mouse, the video comes up. If it's claymation, if you guys don't remember.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I get home, I get it all hooked up. I put the floppy in, I get it loaded. I go away. All I heard was 10 seconds of that chorus for 9 hours straight if I didn't turn off my speaker. And it was just the chorus over and over and over and over. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
There's kind of one of those little spots in my heart for I Stay Away, literally.
Yeah, that's really stayed away.
Yeah, well, the vocals, like so many of their songs, are kind of haunting, right? Like the violins, and like when he's repeating the title with the violins at the end is just awesome, right? Like,
you can't.
Anyway, he does this cool chord arpeggiated and does a slide in the middle of it, and it's so haunting. It's awesome. Love it.
Yeah, really good. So yeah, that's number 3. Number 2 is clearly going to be on other lists or all lists, but it is Man in the Box. Oh, I'm not saying my quotes, but anyway, he tried. Whatever, you know the lyrics. I just thought I was crafty when I write them down. Write a little.
You tease your quotes and then you don't fucking say them.
Right.
You tease them and then you don't say them.
But anyway, yeah, it's Man in the Box. I love it still, and yeah, I've killed it for myself, but still, it's managed to just still be awesome. Every time I hear it, it's awesome. Yeah. I think the first and the third chorus specifically are awesome, and take nothing away from the middle one, but I think it's the surprise of the first one, and then his vocal change a little bit in the third one where it would have been cool. I don't know if there's footage of that, him in the studio really digging in to repeat the chorus and do it just a touch different. I just think it's an awesome song. And Joe, I know you told the story on the opening track episode. Go back and watch it. About hearing that album for the first time. You remember where you were at your bassist's house and stuff. For me, like I said, I was 3 years behind, you know what I mean? And I still remember when I heard it, and I probably played it 20 times in a row in my car.
Me too.
Because I was like, again, I was like, how did I not hear this? This is so good. Like, I'm not getting out of the car. Play it again. Like, and now it's trendy to hear it at hockey games for the last 15 or 20 years when a guy gets a penalty or whatever. And those songs usually annoy the shit out of me, like Start Me Up and other songs that they've killed at hockey games. And I'm like, no, play some more Alice in Chains. That's good. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It could be worse. It could be Chelsea Hammer or Chelsea Dagger or whatever the fuck that band is.
Yeah, Chicago.
Oh my God.
Chelsea Hammer's
I was happy when they got Fall Out Boy for a while. It was like, okay, this is awesome.
Oh, the Toronto Maple Leafs song was horrible for a while. Dink liked it. It was a Hall & Oates song. It was fucking horrible. But
dreams come true. Yeah. You make them
for years. Obviously, it's trendy for all the teams from Minnesota to use "Let's Go Crazy" when the teams score. Vikings, I think, still do. But for years, the Wild were using Joe Satriani's crowd chant for years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, but you were saying before that with your that being your it's such a great song. That song for me, because not that I wrote really complicated songs, but that song taught me right then. You could take a song and just play a verse. It's literally just like one note through the whole thing and just have one little quick riff at the end to kind of tie everything together. I mean, that song is so simple yet so powerful, so dark, very Sabbath-like,
Right.
darker in some ways. It's
so
depressing.
Powerful, right? Like
it's
this
just powerful. Yeah, it's not even a fast song. It's just you want to punch something when you hear it. And it's not even a fast song.
And then on top of that, just throw a wah pedal through the whole fucking song.
Yeah. Yeah, and that started the whole wah phase, man, to the point where even Metallica started using the wah. So
so good, so good.
Heck yeah, nice pick.
So anyway, that leads to my number one, and it was really a no-brainer. My number one is "No Place to Call Home." It is Nutshell. Like I love Nutshell. It sits number 13 on my all-time favorite songs by any artist. I've only done the list of 20. I think I've said this before. And I've got roadblocked after 20. I can't seem to narrow down 20 to 30 and all the songs in the history of time. But the fact that, and I know it sounds so stupid, but the fact that I got to 20 was impossible. And it,
I can't do it.
Sometimes I think about changing it, but no, it's like, again, it's locked in. But yeah, it sits number 13. It's serious significance with me. When I discovered I Stay Away and was listening to Jar Flies, of course I was like, oh, this is so good. This is really good. This is really good. And then went back and got stuck on Facelift for a while, right? Because I think I'd heard enough of Dirt with my buddy playing it that I was like, I didn't spend enough time on Dirt. It was all Facelift. But then when I went back to Jar Flies and got away from I Stay Away and really got on a Nutshell, I was like, holy shit. Again, like all these holy shit moments for like a year and a half. I'm like, this, I thought I couldn't like Man in the Box anymore. I thought that was going to be my favorite Alice in Chains song of all time. And when I finally realized how much I love this song, and I think the Unplugged helped it. I mentioned it in my opening tracks. Go back and watch it. That I love that version even just slightly more because it's so raw. But I didn't think I could like a song any more than Man in the Box. And I'm like, this is the greatest song ever written. Yeah. Like I was thinking this at one time, I was saying this might be my favorite song of all time. No, it's 13, so it's not. But it's just like, it's again haunting. And if you've ever suffered anything, right? Addiction, loss, breakup, like it just kind of hits. You know what I mean? Like, and I know my wife likes it. And that's what, again, not that that is a judge of, but she doesn't like this kind of music.
Not at all.
That's a really good song.
Chris, not at all.
Not at all.
That's a really good song. I'm like, it's an awesome song. It's an amazing song.
If you go back, sorry, I thought you paused. No. If you go back to, an episode or two back, we talked about the first time hearing Alice in Chains. And I had said the first time I heard it was in Joe's house. Right. I remember that day so well. Ma made tater tot hot dish, and it was the best fucking meal that I've ever had in my life. And sitting at that table, pushed against the wall in the kitchen. And I remember it. And I'm not going to say the name of the song because I'm sure it's going to pop up. I said, hey, wait, play that one again. And we played it, I think, 3 or 4 times. And Mom's like, hey, come on, time for dinner. And I just got choked up. It was right.
That's the most Midwest Minnesota thing I've heard on this pod, even more than the barn and the cattle.
Yeah. Seriously, the hair on my arm stood up. I got choked up about Joe's mom. Love you, Jenny.
Yeah, no, and I totally get that. It's funny because you said you were getting choked up with 71. I was getting choked up when I was doing my notes for this show. Yeah, and how much I love this band, right? And that's why I don't mind saying I was late, but whatever. I've listened to them fucking tons, right? So there's no penalty anymore. Right? If it was 95, they'd be like, think you just fucking found them. I'd be like, yeah, shit. But anyway, and I will say this, it's a shame the way Layne died and how he wasn't found for 2 weeks. Oh, it's just gross. There's 2 celebrity, and it take nothing away from Prince, Joe, I know, and Bowie, and and Chris Cornell. Like when Chris Cornell died, I was stunned. Right, I was like, oh,
there it was, yeah.
But there's only two that have stopped me in my tracks. Literally stopped me while I was driving. I heard the news, and it was Layne and Michael Hutchence because I love In Excess.
Yeah.
I'll get choked up, but I stopped the car. I was like, oh, and I knew Layne was going to die. It wasn't a shock. I didn't know Michael would be hanging around, but you know what I mean.
It's
terrible joke.
You want to take my belt off?
I say that joke all the time. It's just terrible. Hanging in there? No, he's hanging in there. But anyway, so that's the truth, right? And so a quick memory about Nutshell. It's kind of really been skimmed over here, but it's like, I listened to them so much. And I was dating a girl before my wife.
Does your wife know that?
And and I played Alice in Chains so much, and Chris knows this, and dance music. So for some weird reason, I love dance, Euro dance. So, and it was big in the 90s, and we were going to the bars and stuff. So if I wasn't listening to Alice in Chains, I was listening to dance music, minus a couple albums. Seven Mary 3, American Standard, Brother Kane, and Our Lady Peace is a Canadian band. Those full albums kind of slipped through, and then it was single songs here and there, Silver Chair, Space Hawk, all the popular stuff. But then it was like, whatever, back to Alice in Chains. Like she was probably, if she wasn't, well, she was sick of me, but she was probably so sick of this band because it was just her and I'd be like, I'd just have Alice in Chains on all the time. She's probably like, oh my God, good enough. But
I know how Jimmy felt about Prince and Extreme. He was kind of my girlfriend.
It happens. Anyway, okay, so I'll speed it up here so we can move on to the next guy. But my honorable mention, and you'll be happy to know this, my honorable mention, I changed my list. This locked-in rule is starting to bend. This is back-to-back episodes. I changed my soundtrack list. I've now changed my Alice in Chains list, and this song jumped up a couple spots, and I dropped What the Hell Have I and Would that were right on the fringe, and Down in a Hole has now moved into the 5th spot because the more I listened to it over the last week, I was like, God, this is higher. Were you drunk when you made this list? You love this song. Like, this is how I talk to myself. You love this song, Dave. I do love this song. Right. Well, not out loud, no, because then the family's like, who are you talking to down there? Just me.
Well, it's great that you pulled Down in the Hole out of the hole.
Yeah.
Right out of the hole and onto the top 5. Like, again, another haunting song. Another Jerry song. He wrote it about his girlfriend, right? I think that, and Heaven Beside You is about her, Courtney Clark or whatever her name is. So that's, it's obviously a meaningful song to him, but it's a meaningful song to me. Again, if you've suffered anything, this is a song like Nutshell that you can listen to. You're like, oh yeah. And another one that the unplugged version is awesome too, right?
Yeah.
And I probably haven't talked enough about the 2 mics, but I'll let you guys do that. Obviously, the change in bass players. Sean Kinney is a great, I like to say, subtle drumming, but sometimes you forget he's even there. But it's just, if you really listen, it's just awesome, right? Like,
I have a song I talk specifically about him. So yeah.
Anyway, that's my list, boys.
Right.
That means
that means next. On to you.
I guess I get to go.
Jimmy?
I get to go. I guess I'm going to start with Sean Kinney is so fucking creative.
See, that's why I didn't say much.
You mentioned, I Stay Away. There's so much going on to that song, drums wise, and it drives the whole. They didn't play basically. They played a bunch of diminishing chords and stuff over this just amazing fluid drum line. So that's my note on your pick. So I guess I'm going to start with my pick, my 4th pick. Oh my God, I love this pick, and I hope nobody else picks it. It is Brother from Sap.
Nice.
Oh, Ann Wilson of Heart is the backing vocalist. If you guys didn't know, I'm sure. it's just so powerful. Her voice is haunting. Her voice matches the haunting nature of the song, and it's just so cool. And there's not a lot to the song. It's a bare bones song. It's a basic bitch, as we talk about all the time. But her voice and his voice, how they kind of silhouette each other and they just weave, is fucking beautiful. I love this. That's Sap, right?
Yeah, that's a Sap.
Sean, in this song, he plays a half tempo, which brings the sound even further down, the song further down, because he's playing a half tempo song. He's not just playing he's just bringing it down. And I mean, I don't have a lot more notes other than this song is fucking amazing. And it's the most beautiful song ever. So yeah, that's
number 5. It's the best one ever, but it's 5.
It's fine.
right. Well, if I look at my list, it's number 872 of my all-time favorite song. I have it right here. It's in stone.
Is that locked in? That's
in.
Locked in.
20, only 20.
It's locked in.
I'm just gonna guess this song might come up again. Just gonna throw it out there. This might. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I actually remember listening to this album again with you because when we were younger, we were kind of inseparable. We played a lot of music. We broke down music. I guess musicians are that way. I mean, we tore music apart and hey, what'd you think about this? How about, hey, check this out. Look at this. Oh, brother. It was fucking amazing.
Oh, brother. No, especially at the time, because it was so different from everything. Well, especially from the genre they kind of replaced, which was, the 80s hair band metal, and obviously a different tone. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what the best thing about this entire, from late 90 to 94, it's such a prime time for rock music. Because again, like we're talking about in our 71 show, go back and listen to that one. There's so many new sounds and new kinds of genres being developed between the late 60s and the early 70s. Kind of the same thing in the early 90s. So sure, rock had been done before, but not into this manner, And there's so many different ways they're doing it. They're breaking it down back to its basics.
Well, Darren, as you were saying, we have earlier in pre-production, we have all these notes about all these songs. We get so excited we skip them out. I'm glad you brought that up because that's a great segue. This song is actually kind of a fallback 20 years earlier, maybe 25, 30 years earlier, to that style of songwriting that brought that kind of folk feeling. And it really, it's folk inspired.
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right, so number 3. It's from a soundtrack song that we previously have mentioned. It's from the 1993 Last Action Hero soundtrack. It is What the Hell Have I?
Oh,
I fucking love this song. It was a song that was left over from Dirt. Both of those songs from the Last Action Hero soundtrack were left over or partially worked on during pre-production of Dirt, and they said, no, we have to finish these, and they did in great fashion. One of the cool things that I found out about this is Jerry Cantrell didn't know how to play a sitar, which is a Eurasian, I think it's 6-string guitar, kind of tuned in fourths. It's not tuned in fifths like a guitar. He didn't know how to play it. He brought all these different sitars in and he couldn't do it. So he had a box made that would make his guitar sound like a sitar. So that's actually not a sitar. That's a guitar that he had made to suit the song that he wrote. Yeah. Oh, Little Bitter was the other song from Last Action Hero. I just really loved the song. I loved how it flowed. I liked how it made me feel, which is why we listen to music, is how it makes us feel. And I don't have a lot more notes other than it made me feel fucking great. I loved the song.
The intro to that song is just cool, right?
Smooth.
Very good.
Yeah. And again, Sean Kinney is fucking amazing in this. He does. I could go on for hours about Sean Kinney. He's so fucking creative, and he's like, I don't know, kind of, in my opinion, the king of halftime. Where again, it's not.
Yeah.
It's just.
That's funny because when I was, and you take certain things for granted. And like I said, how much I've listened to this band, but when I was re-listening to make sure I was okay, I was like, wow, Kenny's really good. And I was thinking I was the only one noticing that. I forgot that we got a fucking drummer here. Of course.
But it's also that halftime, his playing too is actually what helps along with that creepiness and the soulfulness of the song, because it lets the song breathe.
Right.
It's I think your average drummer of the time would have just came up with a straight 4/4 beat and it's like, okay, here we go, and it helps the song breathe, and and
dynamics. Yeah,
the dynamics much greater.
Yeah. Another. I do have one more reference to this, is when this was actually being truly recorded past the demo state. I don't know if people understand. You go in and you record a demo, kind of get the idea down. You bring it to the label or whatever, or your PR guy, and they say, oh, yes, this is great. And then they go and truly record it. But during this time, what's that?
Unless you're Prince.
Right. You're your own PR guy. 3 of 4 of the members of Alice in Chains were in rehab during that recording session.
Yeah.
Jerry Cantrell was not one of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to move up the list because they get better and better. Bleed the Freak. Jesus Christ. Does it get better? Well, one song's better than this.
Is this the Kitchen Table song?
No. Yes. This is Kitchen Table.
Yes, Kitchen Table.
I think we played it 3, 4, 5 times. And play that again. I want to hear this. Play that again. Play it again. Yeah. Oh, fucking amazing. The live video that was the actual official video for this song shows Sean Kinney just fucking killing it. They really focus on him a lot. A bunch of little snippets real quick showing him just killing it. He's fucking amazing. All my notes, Sean Kinney badass. Sean Kinney badass.
It's like mine were all Layne. Layne's wicked. Layne's haunting. Right. Layne's rips through you. Layne. I was like, shit.
That's a great segue, because my next note is the vocals, Jerry's and Layne Staley's harmonies. They're switching off every other verse, and they're taking turns on this one, and it's fucking powerful. And whatever the hell juju they had, they fucking absorbed that, and it was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I won't comment. I'll just say that this song may show up again. I mean, Jimmy's already told you the background of this song, but I would just say I'll finish the story when it's my turn. But I for years I was told this song was about Jesus Christ, and it's not. And I'll tell you what it is when it's my turn.
All right.
Oh. So we may have the same Z, is what you're saying?
A tease, if you will.
Tease.
All right. So, okay, I'm just going to jump into my first one. And there's a reason that I have this album out. Every Alice in Chains fan probably thinks this song is the greatest song ever. And I'm just gonna say it. It's Nutshell.
Nice.
But the MTV Unplugged version is seemingly 1,000 times more powerful than the Jar of Flies version, which it's amazing. The Jar of Flies version is amazing, but that Unplugged, and then knowing that he's basically pleading and singing about his own futility, and that his life is short,
which he's saying about a lot.
Absolutely. And also the not cool thing. The last time they played that song live was for MTV Unplugged with Layne.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of morbid facts to this. It was never released as a single. It was ranked number 9 by Rolling Stone as the saddest song ever.
I had that in my notes.
Yeah. For this, when they recorded Jar of Flies, it was kind of pushed upon them by the the record company, and nobody had any songs ready to go at the table. So they spent a week jamming and wrote Jar of Flies.
And they didn't even really plan on releasing it, did they?
They did plan on releasing it because they were under contract to release it. And that's why they were being pushed into it, because they thought that maybe Layne wasn't meant long for this earth. So they spent a week jamming and writing. They wrote the songs for this. They recorded the whole album in 7 days, and it took them another 7 days to master it. Master it is taking the recordings and moving it all together and making it fluid and making it polished. And then they released it. The crazy note about this song is Layne's mom sued the band because she felt that she wasn't getting the royalties. So, and she won. She sued the band and she got all that money. And the band actually had to go on hiatus because of that lawsuit, because it broke them.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's just so much darkness to this song, and it's so powerful. When I want to introduce this song to people, I'm like, hey, I'm going to show you the darkest, saddest song ever. And I play it and people are like, wow, you were right. So yeah, that's my notes. That's my 1 through 4. I have an honorable mention, and it's kind of a basic bitch, but it's a really fucking cool song, and that's Wood. Wood was written as a tribute to Andrew Wood, W-O-O-D, of Mother Love Bone, who died in 1990. Cantrell sings all the verses, and Staley only sings the choruses, and that's what we were kind of talking earlier. It was first released on the single soundtrack, as you mentioned. This is kind of a cool stat here. I have to read, so I apologize. So initially, it was number 31 on the Billboard Mainstream Rock in 1992. Unplugged came out in 96, got a resurgence to number 19 on the Billboard Mainstream Rock. That threw me off. So
sorry.
Hey, Joe.
Shortcuts when it comes to the video controls.
Sorry. So in 2019, it hit its highest peak at number 15 on the Mainstream Rock because of a popular show on Netflix called Punisher.
Wow.
They played Wood, and it went to number 19 because of Punisher. Another real quick thing is, at some point, I want to talk to you guys about your Canadian gold, silver, platinum, diamond, all that, because there's a big disparity between United States and Canada. But in UK, the song got a silver certification at 200,000. In US, it got 2 times platinum at 2 million. So that's my list.
Well, yeah. Before we go anywhere, I haven't really looked at the differences between our certifications.
It goes by population per country. So I think
well, that would make sense then. You guys have so many fucking people, so
you live on our borders,
right?
Yeah, we know.
We have all the land.
We're aware.
Make room. We're coming. We're
We have
coming.
all the resources.
I'm gonna save that certifications for another show because I can't find it right now because I haven't.
Yeah, no, it is an interesting topic for sure.
Yeah, good.
It's really it's curious, and it's also really cool to see the differences because it's quite a difference.
Well, also too, as Prince would say, and I hate bringing up Prince, but I'm kind of a fan. But those certifications are also based upon reported sales. And for you listening to this show, I'm doing air quotes because sometimes reported sales aren't the actual sales.
Right. It actually goes according to ordered sales.
Is it ordered?
Ordered. So, Dink, you own a record store. You want to order 50 copies of SAP. You tell your dealer, and they go down the line. So they order all these albums. It's not based on actual sales. It's on ordered sales.
That makes way more sense because how could you track every retailer?
Well, and not only that, I think for years too, they were going by SoundScan, and not every country at the time for many years was using SoundScan. So that was the beef with a lot of artists a lot of times. It's like movies to this day, like Return of the Jedi is still known as it hasn't recovered its money back, even though it made over $1 billion, but it's still considered a loss because Lucasfilm says it's only made, $200 million or something like that, because that's the reported earnings. So yeah, same thing with albums. So imagine that record companies might want to screw their artists out of money. I don't know if you've ever heard that story before, but yeah. So
right,
once or twice. Well, hey, I Chris.
Yo,
I guess you're up, brother. I hope
all right.
I purposely tried to have different songs, but these songs are my actual list, and it's kind of cool that we only had a couple samezies. It's not ironic that we have, the same top song.
No, it's not.
And well, Dink, you and I spent a lot of time listening to Alice in Chains together, so it's not going to be a surprise that I think 3 out of the 4 on my list maybe the same as, not in the same order, but
right.
Yeah. So my number 4 is in fact Nutshell.
4
Scandal.
Whatever.
No, at least it's in there.
Yeah, and I don't know what else to say. Then, bye, Jimmy. See you later. Have a nice night. What else is there to say? You guys said it all. You stole all my notes. I don't know what else to say.
No, I think we've covered pretty much. I don't even know if I've missed anything on my own notes. Like, I think we've covered.
I think Jimmy wrote before that it's one of the most depressing songs written, or Rolling Stone. But in a future show that we're totally not recording tonight might include what I think is the saddest song ever recorded, and it might have the same lead vocalist, but a different band.
Well, all right. So, Chris, I know you shot that down real quick.
Are we covering that one too?
I mean, what does the song mean to you? I mean, when you hear it, what does it make you do? How do you feel?
What does it make me do?
What therapy?
So no, I just really like the song. I don't. You guys talking about it being sad, and it is, but that's not where it takes me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Necessarily, I know it's a sad song. The lyrics are sad. I just really love the song. I love the album. I love the band. So,
Right.
It's just.
And some people don't get.
It's one of those
sadness.
No, and I get that it's a sad song, like I said, but that's not really why. I just like the flow of the song. I like the vocals. I like the way it sounds. Yeah. I like the whole album. Honestly, I remember. Yeah. I think Layne said in an interview once it was like the only album he remembers doing because he was sober when he did it, or possibly sober when he did it. So
right. That was on my notes. Yep.
But yeah, so that was my number 4. My number 3 is Man in the Box, and I was big into Alice in Chains and Dirt, but then I started dating somebody that had Facelift, and I was like a little bit like Dink, like, how did I fucking miss that album when I went back and listened to it again, right? It was actually, when I did the research, some of the things I found funny, but it was so this is what I was going to say about Alice in Chains that I forgot. It's like they were grunge, but they were more on the metal side of grunge. I don't know if you guys mentioned that, right?
Oh yeah.
It actually was. Man in the Box was number 19 on VH1's greatest metal songs.
Yeah.
Right.
Makes sense.
Which kind of transcends it, right? And then what did I read too? Oh, no, the Nielsen Music Year End 2019, second most played of the decade in mainstream rock stations. So I think one of the reasons that I love that song so much is that I've heard it so much, and I listen, like we've talked about, and Dink said a lot, and I again, not surprising because we listen to him so much together. I love Layne's voice. Absolutely love it.
How could you not? Yeah.
Well, and so I'm going to tell you this story. When I really fell in love with them, and I think the real reason I love the band so much, I saw them at the 93 Lollapalooza concert and it was in Molson Park in Barrie, just outside of Toronto. And that whole concert actually was like, I hate to say the word life change, but it changed a lot of my music listening. And I wrote down some of the bands that were there. So it was everything from Arrested Development. I saw Fishbone, Babes in Toyland, Babes in Toyland, Dinosaur Jr., Rage Against the Machine, and that was the tour when I forget the drummer's name right now. It's escaping me from Rage. Sat backwards to the crowd. He sat backwards to the crowd, which was I'd never seen before. It was bizarre, and I'm like, that's fucking weird. And he had a mirror so he could see the crowd when he was drumming. It was, and so I have no idea why, but that just stands out in my head. But then the other band, the other bands on it were Alice in Chains. Tool was on a side stage, and Primus was the headliners.
And Jane's Addiction was there too.
Jane's Addiction was there as well.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that too. Yeah,
but you just brought up Alice in Chains and you brought up Tool, but it's funny. Those are two polar opposite bands. As far as especially complexity, one's very complex band, one's very simplistic in a lot of ways musically. But yet,
Math and Feeling.
Sonically, they sound very similar. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah.
And they're probably two of Chris's favorites.
They are two of my favorites. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, the same sonically, same kind of, I don't know, energy kind of. But yeah.
Aggressive.
That's it. Aggressive. That's the one.
Yeah, if they're not being acoustic and chill and haunting,
right?
It's going right through you, right? Like,
and so
yeah.
Seeing them on that bill with all those other bands, just it totally it changed a lot of my views in music. It was really like altering for me in my taste of music, really.
Yeah. Well, you were
that's why I love Alice so much.
That's awesome.
You were mentioning, aggressive acoustic. Even in their acoustic stuff, they were still aggressive to a degree enough to make you go, wow, that's different.
Yeah.
So yeah, they had an aggressive nature by far.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. It's not like it was Firehouse. You know what I mean? Like.
Right.
No. And then, when you saw them,
I want to see Layne Staley cover Firehouse now.
But when you saw them live, like it was aggressive and the band was playing and they're in it, but Layne was so calm in the centerpiece. He was wearing like an Armani suit. He was totally different than the rest of the band. They just fucking blew me away live. I don't even know how to explain it. There's lots of concerts I went to that for one reason or another, I don't remember a lot of them, but that one,
heroin,
especially their set. No, there was no heroin, but there's a lot of other stuff.
Drugs are bad.
Drugs are bad.
Sadly, I never saw them in concert.
One time.
And that was my one time.
And they show.
Unreal. Yeah. Anyways, that was my number 3, right? So number 2 is We Die Young from Facelift. Just
that was never.
I didn't really
fixed.
See, it wasn't on my top 4. And then the more I listened to it over the last couple of weeks when we were doing this, I'm like, yeah, it's getting it up. It went up. And my honorable mention dropped off the top 4, and this one moved its way up to 2nd.
That's so awesome, eh? Like,
yeah. It's just fucking.
Fuck, I gotta
again, just fucking how much I remember listening to that song for the first time and how much it just drew me in. And then if nobody else has anything to say about that, I'll just go to my number 1, which is Rooster. And I just remember the first time I heard Rooster and the fucking vocals with the background guys, and then seeing them live and realizing it was Jerry Cantrell and I forget the bass player's name at the time doing the voice. I thought it was always women doing the female backups, doing the in the background, and it was the band doing it. When I saw them live, I'm like, yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, that fucking blows me away. That's all. It's amazing. So Rooster's my number 1.
Summer '93, Chris.
Yeah.
Was that when did the mics switch? 94?
It was. I believe it was '93. I have it in my notes somewhere.
I don't remember.
After that tour, like, did they boot him after that tour?
I don't know.
There was with that. There was supposed to have been a switch with Ozzy Osbourne because Mike Inez came from Ozzy, and Mike Starr went into rehearsals and just relapsed and fell apart. And Ozzy's like, "See you."
Yeah, that was the thing. They were literally swapping bass players.
Yeah.
Crazy, eh?
And Mike Inez did the honorable thing, man, because he went to a better situation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think I don't think my list is going to be much different than yours guys.
That's
so, yeah,
that's a great list.
My
honorable mention.
And my honorable mention was Wood.
Oh wow.
It was on the number 4 and it just dropped down one.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good songs in their catalog, man. I don't really think can go. I mean,
and again, if we did this again in a year and you didn't let me have access to my last list, it might be a little bit different. Right?
Yeah.
Like
I agree. Musically, we're all bipolar to our feelings.
Yeah,
so I think Chris and I talked about this with the Van Halen episode, that right now, this is what I'm feeling. This is how I am listening to this. And talk to me in 6 months. I think his quote was, talk to me in 6 months. It's going to change.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I am completely bipolar in listening to music, because I catch an emotion. I catch a wave. I catch a feeling. And I'm like, this is how I'm feeling. And I'm loving this. And that emotion could switch to a completely different song another time down the road.
Right. And then before you know it, you're stuck in a hole and you're listening to Marilyn Manson for a month. You know what I mean? Like,
if you're listening to Marilyn Manson for a month, man, you might want to talk about getting that therapy.
Yeah. You gotta go and listen to his thoughts for a month.
Right. If we ever do a glam show, there might be a Marilyn Manson reference in there. But if we ever don't, then there won't be.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
Ever don't not be. Sometimes maybe.
Great pick, man.
All right. So it's Joe. It's up to you now.
That was a good list, Chris. Solid. Love those choices. I had them.
Yeah, great.
Right.
Seriously, no, and I don't think you're gonna find much difference from mine either, because there's gonna be a lot of crossover. I will say this: my 3 top Alice in Chains songs, I think have always been my top 3 Alice in Chains songs. I'll give those the reasons why. But real quick, I don't think we can say much more about this song. But my number 4 is Rooster. I said before, this is Layne. I think his, at least recorded, is probably his best vocal. I mean, it just sounds so good. I mean, listen, like I'm sure you guys did this last week too, picking these songs. I listened to every album from front to back again. Well, the Layne albums, So,
yeah.
I mean,
I did the same thing.
Sorry, William Duvall, but I mean, great music, good stuff. But I mean, that's where my heart and soul is with Layne and that version of the band. It's no different than Van Halen and Van Hagar or whatever Gary Sharon.
I think there's a big difference.
But yeah, this song is sonically. It's that I don't think another band can capture what they brought with Layne and Jerry's voice and the music. Again, with Kenny's drums, everything's just. I mean, they played everything almost the opposite way you should to be a heavy rock band, and it's still a very heavy rock band. Like you're saying, they'll grind you right through your skull with a slow tempo song like Rooster. I'm not going to retread some old stuff, but my number 3 is a really different song. It's Brother. For the second release, their EP Sap. I remember I was so into Facelift because, like I said, Mana Box, I heard that, and I think it was called 93 The Edge here in Minneapolis. And I told you before in a previous episode, I remember where I was at the time when I heard that song. I still can remember it visually, like I can see everything around me, right? Like I'm watching a video. And then getting that album Facelift after hearing that song the next day, that's all I listened to incessantly forever, man. And then when Sap came out, this is when Alice in Chains, now not disregarding Facelift because I think it's still my favorite Alice in Chains album, but when Sap came out, I was like, oh, this is when Alice in Chains becomes Alice in Chains, because now they're introducing more of the acoustic with the aggressive guitar, the half-time drums. They had some acoustic guitar and Facelift and stuff like that, but this is really where they kind of matured. A lot of big Alice in Chains fans are very aware of the bootleg Heroin. That showcases some of the songs that were on Facelift, but in more of a glam style. Because Alice in Chains, before they made it big, were kind of a glam band. If you can find it anywhere on the internet, or I think it's on YouTube too, but check out Heroin. By Alice in Chains, a bootleg, because you'll hear Alice in Chains before they were Alice in Chains, and they're very glam type band. And so you hear songs like "We Die Young" and "Bleed the Freak," slightly different than they're recorded for Facelift.
Well, they do Ascending Note chord progressions in that, because I know exactly what I'm talking about. They do ascending like dun 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 rather than dun dun dun, which is kind of the grunge. They took hair metal and did descending note progressions versus ascending. One note on Brother there, I forgot to mention. Jerry Cantrell wrote this for his way younger brother, because when they were younger, mom and dad got a divorce. There was such an age disparity that he didn't really want to hang out with the younger brother type thing. So the little brother left with the dad. So they hadn't seen each other for 6 or 7 years. So he wrote the song as like an ode to his younger brother.
Yeah. I actually had that in my notes as well, but it's again we brought before though with Ann Wilson being in the background vocals, you can tell when she's singing it's Ann Wilson, but she adds to Alice in Chains without taking it away, and again she complements their voices so well. Didn't take away. You would think, oh, here's this guest artist, Alice, or Ann Wilson, doing background vocals for Alice in Chains. It's not that at all. It's a perfect match.
There's also a little history to that too. So after that, she loved the outcome of that song. So Ann Wilson had a side project, and she asked Layne Staley to come and record with her. Right. And she said after those sessions, she's like, he's not long for this earth. And that was an actual quote. He's not long for this earth. I've probably said it a couple times. I got it from my research.
Yeah, I know. And while I don't know how you guys feel about Heart, and maybe someday we'll get to an episode of them. They are a top 10.
Me too.
Love Heart.
And love Heart. I love the sisters. Oh,
yeah. They're number 72 on my all-time list.
Their numbers, they're like right with Van Halen on my list. They're in the top 10.
10 for me. Yeah. I mean, I think I mentioned in past shows too. I've always been attracted to strong female vocalists, and I think it really started with Ann and Nancy Wilson, and but a lot of my favorite vocalists are females, and it started with them. But she adds so much to that song or that EP. She's in a couple other songs too. It doesn't take away from all. I think the only one I have on my list is this one song is different from you guys. My number 2 song is very personal and almost made number 1, but my number 2 is No Excuses.
Wow.
I would say Kenny's drum intro.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's not complicated, man, but make an intro of a drum intro and make it just your own and make it like people can hear it in their heads. It's not just a drum fill. It's an actual part. It's got swing to it. It's just the drums on this song, because the song is literally just a bunch of open chords. The drums make the song along with the vocals.
Okay, you mentioned the drum sounding basic. There are many drum covers of this on YouTube, and please, I implore you to go watch. This guy's doing so fucking much during that drum phrasing of that intro. He's all over here. He's not just he's doing a lot. There's a lot of movement.
And this song was the year we're talking about feelings or past experiences, or why this song is special to us. I'm a guitarist. In my bands, I was the only guitarist. And every guitarist secretly wants to also be a lead singer. This is the one song that I was able to sing leads on with my lead singer in my band. My band Warhol's Theory, and we would play this. We played a maximum of 4 or 5 covers in a 2-hour set. We played mainly original music. But this song was probably the number 1 cover we kept the longest, because we just loved playing it. My singer and I, Chris, our voices sound very complimentary. Again, he allowed me to sing the lead vocal with him. But I just remember playing all the time. Playing the song live was a lot of fun. People really got into it. Again, it's not a real up-tempo song. It's not a driving song, but everyone can sing to it. It was fun to play.
It's a recognizable song for people that aren't huge Alice in Chains fans.
Yeah,
they know that song, and you're right. It is a good sing-along song or a good bopper. You know what I mean? For the layman.
Yeah, well, do it. But seriously, It's a bopper.
It's a bopper.
But I literally think whenever I don't ever think of very many songs the years when I played live or went on tour. This is one of those songs when I think about, I literally think about my singer Chris, and that connection we would have on stage was great.
Right.
My number one song is probably no surprise. Jimmy's already mentioned it. It's Bleed the Freak. Again, Mana Box was my intro drug. I bought the album next day. Boom, Bleed the Freak was instantly a different song. For years, like I said before, I was always told it was about Jesus Christ and their take on that. But the swing on it was a few years ago. Jerry Cantrell said, no, it's actually just to people who didn't want to see us make it big. And we're kind of putting us down and trying to keep us down. And so we bled for all those years. Now we wanted to see them bleed.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I
thought
that was
that too, but I left it alone. Yeah.
So I thought it was really cool, and because I'm a kind of vengeful guy too. I mean, if you fuck me over, I fuck you. I'm done.
Right.
Jimmy knows this, not the personal experience, but he knows how my personality is with other people. And trust me, if somebody wronged my band back in the day, you were on a hit list.
Right.
So I totally understand where Jerry Cantrell's going with that. And plus, the song is timeless.
Yeah.
I have two quick honorable mentions. My first one's Over Now, which ironically is the last song on the last album they had with Layne Staley.
Yeah,
right.
The song is
Alice in Chains.
Yeah, the song is quite straightforward. It's about the band breaking up.
Foretelling.
Foretelling. I mean, I think we talked about before. We all kind of knew Layne at some point was going to leave. He wasn't made for this earth. It wouldn't happen for another 4 or 5 years after this. But I mean, if you go through all the songs, there's a lot of songs that Jerry's singing to Layne about not only his addiction, but their friendship, their brotherhood.
Right.
And I've always wondered, because obviously we don't talk about it. He's not allowed to talk to him, and he obviously didn't talk about back in the day. But I wonder what it was like for Layne to sing those songs back, knowing those lyrics were meant for him.
Right. You're right. That's kind of haunting in itself, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's total correspondence. Having a vocal conversation to an audience, a very, very intimate conversation.
And knowing the guy that is talking to you is right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I love you, man, and this is what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Jerry Cantrell is, he said a few times that, if the band ended yesterday, and he was talking about this in the late 90s for a couple of years before Layne passed, that, if the band ended now, I would still always love these guys because we've been in the thick and throes together, and I'll still be there for them personally. The band may be broken apart, but I'll always be for them. And I totally get that. But I've always wanted to know what that was, because obviously Layne sang in his other bands about his addiction. In a few songs he did complimentary lyrics to. He wrote about his addiction or his impending death that he saw coming. But what was it like to sing those same lyrics back that your best friend wrote for you, right? It just
it's wild. And it's like this whole, it's the whole mood of everything we're talking about here. But it's funny, if I hadn't bumped up down in a hole, I seriously thought about throwing a curveball because I knew we'd have so many samesies. Having your decision as my honorable mention, because I'm quite sure those lyrics, without even researching, are about him too. I know I've heard they're about Kurt, but you can blanket it to all of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, just imagine the creative process of writing the foretelling that we were talking about, but watching an accident happen, but 2 years in the future.
Yeah, you can't stop it, but you're just slowly watching it.
There's nothing you can do. And I want to tell you, brother, I love you, and I'm there for you, and I'm seeing this, your response to me, and it's.
Yeah. And I don't know what you guys, not to take this too deep, but I don't know what you guys' experience with other people with actually true addictions, and friends with that going through it. But the worst thing you have to do is you have to just let them hit rock bottom, and hopefully when they hit rock bottom, they come back up, because the only person who can save them are themselves.
Exactly.
And there's nothing worse than I've seen friends of mine, thankfully none of them have died, but they've hit rock bottom and they're sober now, but
you can offer like avenues of support, and whether it's financial or moral or whatever, but in the end, like you said, you have to make the decision for yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly. So anyhow, not to bring this down too bad, but so that the Bleed the Freak was my number one. My mention was on Over Now, and then my last real quick honorable mention was Check My Brain, which is from not the Layne era.
You did get one in. All right, nice.
The first single from the Duvall era, and only just because I can't imagine him coming in kind of an unknown for the most part from the general public. Okay, now you're going to replace but not replace Layne Staley. And the first single, Check My Brain, man, it was quintessential Alice in Chains. Very simple. It's literally the string band down.
It just sounds it does. It's not Gary Sharon, right? It's
him and Jerry switching vocals back and forth like he did with Layne for so many years, and they continue to do that to this day. Duvall's a very good singer. We said pre-show.
Great singer.
Yeah, he's a great singer. He's an incredible talent. I think for me, his voice is too similar to Jerry's, where Layne and Jerry's were very complimentary and fit each other perfectly, but they're vastly different voices. For me, go ahead. No, I was going to say, for me, it's too much samesies between the two voices for me nowadays.
Imagine trying to replace one of us.
I'm gone next week. What are you talking about?
Man, everyone have a good week. That's today's show.
I'm out of here.
Wait. What do you mean?
That perked up. I was ready to be there for a second.
No, like I said, they're my favorite '90s band because of all the Seattle bands, they're the one Seattle band that was probably the most aggressive sounding. You can argue for Soundgarden, but I think Soundgarden was louder. They're more bombastic with their songs, where Alice in Chains are more like Sabbath. They're kind of that drawn out. As part of Kenny's, again, halftime a lot of the time, and just drawing this stuff out. Unmatched in their melancholy and their sadness and their aggression. I don't think there's another song that has a slow, and so many slow songs that are aggressive. I don't know how you do that, but they do it.
Well, drop D tuning and halftime will do that.
I'll keep that in mind, and I'll become a rock star.
Well, I mean, this kind of raises kind of a cool thing with the we've talked about 70s rock, we've talked about 80s rock, we've talked about Van Halen, whatnot. So being the elder statesman of us, not by much, but there is a definitive cutoff time to where the music went dry and grunge came in. And you guys being a year, 2 years younger, where that was just kind of an easy transition for you. For me, again, 1-2 years in this particular time frame, that was a hard transition for me because everything I loved went away, but Alice in Chains made it easier, if that makes sense.
And maybe that's why I missed them, because I love the stuff that you love too, Jimmy, but I also like a lot of really poppy stuff around that time in high school. So that's maybe why they were easy to miss. Like I just was transitioned into something else. Hey, Genesis has a new album, or hey, whatever. Like, hey, it's Paul Abdul, like whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. I love cheesy music too. I absolutely love cheesy music too. I'm not as eclectic as you guys. I can clearly state that I'm not as eclectic, but there was a world change for me because
that's a hard drop, right?
I embedded into, I mean, thrash and glam, completely two different worlds, but they were this time frame here where you guys had this thing happening, pushing everything away. So that little note.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm in your camp, but by the time the end of the 90s came, I was almost tuning out a lot of the rock music because the same became so cliche, and this band's the same as this band. It's like, oh, it's our 15th version of Poison or whatever it be. And so, and bands had real talent. I'm not going to say real talent, but bands who are different in the genre, like say Extreme or King's X, were kind of excommunicated because, oh my God, they're playing funk, or they're playing this, or they're playing that. It's not true rock. It's like, and one thing grunge did, and one thing Seattle music did, and alternative did at the time, it allowed many different kinds of music to be music.
There was more than one thing. They fucking just tore down the shit house, and they said, "Don't fuck you. This is what's happening."
And then you saw little spin-offs of it all through the 90s, right?
Yep.
Right.
Well, I think that's it for today's show. I mean, I think it's we
good.
got some great picks. We had a lot of samesies this week. But I think some great takes on Alice in Chains. I think one of the immortal bands of the past 30 years. Probably need another band like them, but in the immortal words of Donald Fagen, go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself.